Hello and welcome back to Thinking About Star Realms. In this video, we're playing Chapter 2, Mission 5 of the campaign. As always, if you have any strategy tips or think that I made the wrong decision at any point, please put it in the comments. As with the previous two missions, this mission continues the series of having both players start with 50 authority, having us start with a regular deck, and having our opponent have one of their starting cards replaced with a one-cost chip. Since we're doing the Star Empire now, they replaced one of the Vipers with the Imperial Fighter, which means that, one, our opponent's going to have an extra damage per deck, and two, we're going to be discarding a card. As far as setups go, the Imperial Fighter is not the worst card, because yes, that damage does add up over the course of the game, but it's not going to be much. And early on, that discard is hopefully not going to cripple us too bad. Hopefully there's going to be some unneeded card to discard. So, but that means that our opponent does have a bit of a head start on going with a rough down strategy. So if they can get their cycling station and or War World, that damage will add up. Or even Blob Destroyer, another great rough down card. But having a lot of bases can kind of mitigate a lot of that aggression. Unfortunately, we cannot afford any of the premium bases here or the Blob Destroyer. But a Blob World is, it's a solid early game card because, one, it's going to take 5 damage to destroy, which maybe our opponent will, and two, we can scrap it for 3 trade to buy something good when something good pops up in the trade row. So, reasonable start, and we get a space station out, which is like Blob World but better. It's 1 less defense, but it's an outpost, and it scraps for 4. Plus, it deals more damage and has that Star Empire ally ability, so theoretically, it's not unexpected that our opponent might want to try to grab the space station. And if not, we can grab the space station, maybe grab their cycling station. If we get a really lucky draw, War World. Blob Destroyer, maybe deny it for our opponent, but we'll see what the next turn is. Yep, space station goes. Now, we can buy their cycling station to kind of deny all that Star Empire synergy to our opponent, or we can grab the Blob Destroyer to try to go for a Blob Rush with, we get the Blob Destroyer maybe into a Ram. I mean, the Star Empire strategy is a good balance of having both offense and outpost defense, while the Blob strategy is more of, slightly higher damage, but very low defense, but ability to cut through bases easily with, the Blob Destroyer ally ability. And I feel like their cycling station, it gets better, in the third and subsequent shuffles. So I'm tempted to grab the Blob Destroyer, and either our opponent picks up their cycling station, which, and pick up their cycling station and we get the Ram, which means we have 3 Blob cards going in our deck, or our opponent denies us the Ram, and then we can pick up their cycling station after the shuffle when, it's not going to be a weaker card in our next deck. So I kind of like that Blob Destroyer because, it's a bit of a win-win for what our opponent will buy. Also, the Ram was a possible buy, but only because it can scrap for 3 trade, and there's really nothing in the trade row yet that we'd want to be rushing. And we have the Blob Wheel if something does pop up immediately. Grab the cycling station. Now, we have two possible blob cards in the row right now, the Ram and the Trade Pod. The Trade Pod, it's, you know, a second to third tier card for us because, yes, it's a blob and it can ally for 2 damage, but, you know, it's mostly about giving us that 3 trade, which is great, but isn't building into anything. While getting the Ram, it's good damage, and we can scrap it for trade, as I mentioned. But I don't want to have to scrap the blob world for it, so let's grab that Ram. So for our opponent's Star Empire strategy, they have both the survey ship and war world in the trade row, so they do have some really good buys available. So we'll see how this goes. Yep, they grab the survey ship. So what do we want to buy here? I am tempted to grab the trade pod just for the ally ability on it. Barter World is not bad to kind of try to slow our opponent down, but I feel like with the Star Empire strategy, we have the bigger advantage trying to rough them down. But I do like the trade pod buy. Now, do I want to discard the Viper, get the trade pod, and hope a good 2 cost comes out, or do I discard the Scout and get an extra damage? I mean, the only killer 2 cost would be like, you know, maybe a Cutter. The other possibility is, you know, if we discard the Viper, grab the trade pod, and a good 5 cost comes out that, you know, we can get for Scout Blob World, but the only good 5 cost that is worth doing that, in my opinion, with this deck would be the 5 cost blob that the 5 cost blob base that allies for a draw, which, what's the odds of that happening? So we'll go with a more aggressive play. This aggression is on our side. Yep, and Port of Call came out, so I'm not denying I'm not regretting my decision. Yeah, I don't want the Fed shuttle. Great. We can use the Blob Destroyer ally ability. I mean, it doesn't matter which one we pick, because the other one will just be destroyed with combat. Both are 4 defense. And let's get rid of the War World to kind of slow down all that Star Empire synergy our opponent has going for them. Trade bot is a thing for getting a little bit of scrap to try to maybe get our deck a little bit faster, and it does feel like it's a bit too late to be going for trade, to be going for scrap, but I'm a sucker for that little bit of synergy it will give us, a little bit of, not synergy, a little bit of efficiency. Let's grab that, get the patrol mech, and I don't think scrapping the blob world to get the patrol mech is worth it. And we don't want an explorer. We're going for aggression and rough down. Ooh, we got a flagship. Too bad we're going to be 1 trade short, but I think it's worth scrapping the Blob World for. But the Blob World's there, really. Let me get a Blob Fighter. And I'll get the Imperial Fighter to deny our opponent it. Royal Redoubt comes out, so that's going to be good for our opponent if it can pick it up, but you know, we're hitting them, we just hit them for 11, so that was a nice big juicy hit. Yep, we got the Redoubt. Discard Fighter and get the Patrol Mech, or discard the Scout and do 2 damage and a discard. I like that Patrol Mech. Also, once we get the Ram, it's probably going to get scrapped for the Battle Blob. But yeah, I'll get the Patrol Mech. It's a solid all-around card. One short on the Battle Blob here. With all the bases our opponent's been picking up, the Embassy Yacht is a good pickup for them, so let's get rid of that. We definitely want another Blob Fighter. Do we want the Trade Pod? Do we want the Imperial Fighter? I feel the Imperial Fighter is a good denial buy, and you know, damage is also not unwanted. You know, we can get with the Corvette to deny our opponent it, because it's going to be a very good card in their deck, and we can go for the Trade Pod, because it's a not bad card in our deck. But honestly, I feel like our opponent has a better, more well-rounded trade setup, so I think going for this more aggressive buy of the Corvette is the right choice. And there comes the Hive, which would be a nice card to pick up if we could easily do it, but yeah, not really worth, say, scrapping the Ram for, I don't think. Okay, so what do we discard here? Viper for sure. You really do want to play the trade bot as much as possible, just to thin the deck, but the Ram, the Flagship, and the Blob Fighter are all higher priority cards. So that's going to give us in total 15 damage, enough to clear out our opponent's base wall. Unfortunately, we're going to draw 2 scouts off that, which is not quite enough to scrap Ram and grab the Battle Blob. We'll be able to scrap Ram and get the Hive, but as I said, I don't think the Hive is worth that much as a buy. The draw is good, but 3 damage and the 5 defense versus, you know, the 5 damage plus 2 from the ally, plus we can scrap it to maybe get the Battle Blob. Yeah. So we'll just hold, I guess. I'm not going to pick up the trade bot because, I mean, I feel like we're getting on in the, you know, we're at Low health. I don't think the trade pod is gonna prove its value this game, because let's say, you know, it comes out, best case, that's 2 damage plus the 3 trade, we get the battle blob or the hive. That still needs to circle around once through the deck to provide any value, and I'm not sure if we're probably gonna get through our next deck. I'm not sure we're gonna get through the deck after, so that trade pod is not worth it. They get the battle blob. Flagship to get a card. Blob destroyer. Blob fighter to draw one. Ram. Blob destroy the mech world. And let's destroy the defense center. Just our opponent's not tempted to add that to their outpost. Well, yeah, we won already. I just noticed our damage. Yeah. Out of the 3 single faction 1-cost missions we've played so far, this has definitely been the easiest, just because that, like, Imperial Fighter, I think, the 1-cost Star Empire card, it's not that good of an early game card compared to, say, you know, the trade bot or the whatever the Trade Federation 1-cost is, because I mean that Imperial Fighters may be providing a little bit of a damage advantage, which is not something that builds up over the course of the game like Scrap or Trade does. So yeah, this was an easier mission, and I mean, this is my first time running through it, so yeah, it's been easy. Yes, we did luck out with getting that blob synergy early, but our opponent did get a bunch of Star Empire bases, so more or less both sides had a very good game, and we just outraced them pretty easily. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. If there's any play I missed, if you think I made the wrong decision at any point, you know, if I should have scrapped that ram for the hive or bought the trade pod, you know, throw that in the comments. I'd love to hear it. You know, if I would love to more people to be producing, you know, this, you know, commentary on games on YouTube, so that, you know, there's a nice library of media that's, you know, archived and available for people to learn off of. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.